Hello, I'm Marie, owner and instructor of Rulz Fitness. I teach yoga, tightening and toning, and of course my favorite, belly dance fitness. Why Rulz Fitness Diva Talks? It has always been a personal mission of mine to help women on their wellness journey. We often give and go, supporting others, and not setting boundaries and overextending ourselves. We don't get the joy of the benefits of having a really healthy lifestyle. Look around. Most of us aren't in the shape that we imagine ourselves to be. We're exhausted and we're tired, and we need to address this. We need to start loving on ourselves more. We need to deal with the inner dialogue that's going on inside. There's a mental aspect of health and wellness. Keeping it real. If it were easy to do, more of us would be doing it. We have to create a community that will cultivate a spirit of good health, dealing with the mentalism of health and wellness. How do we do this? I want to help women to change by dealing with one habit at a time, creating a circle, a community that will help support, and then creating the exposure to different tools on how we can deal with the mentalism. This has always been a desire of mine. So now let's stay tuned for Rulz Fitness Diva Talks. Hello, I'm Marie here today on another episode of Rulz Fitness Diva Talks. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. And today I have a special guest, Alana Sharps. She is a CDC and multi-talented international bestseller of Was It My Fault? Yes, this is definitely a book you want to get in your archive. It's available on Amazon. But she is talking about narcissistic relationships and how to deal with it. And she is a survivor of that situation. The name of the book is Was It My Fault? I think I already said that. But here is the thing, in our community, dealing with mental health has always been kind of like a taboo. It's always been something that was hands off, not talked about. And so this is a great way to educate and to continue to inform and deal with mental health. And so I'm going to stop chatting and I'm going to let her speak. And I'm going to ask just this question. Can you first tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what inspired you to write the book?
Absolutely. So I'm a high conflict divorce and child custody consultant. I assist men and women in the middle of legal battles from typically abusive people. So it's people that are not willing to negotiate or collaborate during the legal process. And so they come to me for tips on how to get the narcissist to negotiate. And I'm saying narcissist as a overall encompassing word, but anybody that's abusive verbally or emotionally. We look at how to communicate with their attorneys and family court judges. So prepping them for mediation or court appearances.
So how did you end up doing this? Like, how did you get into this space where you're now a specialist in this area?
From my own personal experience. So I was married to a man that verbally and psychologically abused me for 16 years. And when I left the relationship, I thought, hey, I'm free. I can start my life over. Everything will be fine. And I quickly found out that was not the case. I fell into what is called post-separation abuse. He filed for child custody of the children. And then it just started this long process of trying to negotiate on what was best for the kids. I was trying to do what was in the best interest of the children. He was just trying to get back at me for leaving the relationship. So I went through that experience and I did everything wrong. I learned from my mistakes. I saw a woman had started a certified high conflict divorce and child custody consulting program where she teaches coaches. And I said, hey, I want to get that certification so that I can educate others on everything that I did wrong and tell them the correct things to do when they're going through this process.
Wow. The fact that there's actually a need for this and that someone had to start a committee or a certification in this field is just amazing. Not amazing, but just mind-blowing. It's a better word for that. But how do you think this relates to the current state of women's mental health today?
It's very impactful to the current state of women's health today. So, for example, in these type of relationships, you don't know that you're being psychologically abused, right? Because they put you through a grooming stage. It's very subtle. So they do little things to you to push your boundaries, and you don't realize it. They tell you that everything that they do to you that's impacting you or making you feel bad is your fault. So your first inclination is to change yourself. How can I be a better wife, a better girlfriend? What can I do to make him happy, right? So you're constantly trying to make the other person happy, neglecting yourself, not realizing that this person actually has the issue and that they're trying to project their behavior onto you. What does that do to your mind? You go into a survivor state of mind. You typically go into high fight or flight. And if you're in the relationship for a long period of time, you live in high fight or flight for years, which increases your cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and start to impact your physical well-being. So yes, there is a connection between your mental health and your physical health when we're talking about stress.
Absolutely. So here's the funny part, and just going back to what I said earlier, is that some groups of women generally don't believe in getting therapy or help in situations as such. And so this behavior is what's the word? Narcissistic, if that is even a word, as it relates to the Black community in general. And I know Taraji Hall is now coming out, and now it's becoming a thing, but I don't want it to be a thing. I don't want it to be a fad. How do you feel that mental health is treated different in certain communities?
Right. So specifically within our community, the African American community, I think that it's normalized. I think it's normal for us to be emotionally abusive to one another and to our children. And we just brush it off as that's the way it is, right? Mm-hmm. You can't show your feelings, especially for a male. Showing feelings is seen as weakness, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. So you're constantly trying to be tough, hold in everything that you're feeling, and taking what a lot of times is abuse from a parent, a sibling, a cousin, an aunt, or an uncle. But because it's so normalized, it becomes your normal. So when you become an adult and you go out into a world like I did, and I met someone that started treating me badly, I didn't know I was being treated badly because I had already normalized that behavior. It was familiar to me. Mm. That's how I ended up staying in a 16-year marriage.
Wow. We got a lot of work to do, ladies. We got a lot of work to do. Well, I'm so glad that it's almost like the work you're doing is kind of leading edge, or kind of the first breaking through it, like working behind the scenes and trying to make us aware that there are tools available to help you along the way, that you don't have to go through it like you did. And kind of like, oh, I made all the mistakes. I wish I would have known, or I wish there had been someone there to guide me along the way. So now that you have the attention of the world, figuratively speaking, if you had 5 minutes, what would you say?
I would say that words matter. Words can be used to uplift and inspire, or they can be used to demotivate and erode someone's self-esteem. Watch your words, especially when you're speaking to the children whose brains are still developing, because those children will grow up to be adults that have low self-esteem. They'll go into relationships like I did, where they're being psychologically abused and not even realizing it.
Yeah, because they'll begin to normalize it as, oh, that's the way life is. This is nothing new. This is the way it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Wow. So what's on the agenda for Alana Sharps? What's next?
I have a lot of things on the agenda. I will say that I'm coming out with the audio version of my book. So I'm currently working on an Audible version that should be coming out within the next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm also looking at spreading my story onto the big screen. So I'm in the process of writing a screenplay.
Wow.
I'm looking to get into being more proactive on the abuse side, right? Trying to prevent abuse from occurring by educating, as I'm doing today on your podcast, educating others on how abuse is normalized within our communities, telling people the signs and symptoms to look out for so that we can try to prevent people from going through sexual assault, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and psychological abuse.
That's funny. And I didn't really talk about this because I didn't want to make it that, but maybe I need to. What are the signs of being a narcissistic relationship?
Typically, when you're with a narcissist, and I hate that the term gets thrown around so much in our society, because everyone is not a narcissist. Some people just have bad traits and characteristics. The difference between narcissist and narcissistic personality disorder is these people cannot change. They have an actual personality disorder where they do not take accountability for anything, right? Nothing is ever their fault. It's always someone else's fault that they behave the way that they do. They such as word salad. So when you call them out on things, they'll start to spin the conversation and talk in circles without actually addressing what you're talking about. But they think that they're speaking intelligently, but they're actually just speaking in a circle, and it makes no sense. They called out on their behavior, right? They'll typically call you names. They will gaslight you. When I say gaslight, they will make you feel like what you saw or what you heard is inaccurate. And they will call you crazy for saying what you saw, what you heard was true because you saw it with your own eyes, you heard it with your own ears, and you're like, I'm not crazy. I know that's what I saw and what I heard.
Wasn't me. Right.
Down and tell you you're crazy. That's not what they said. That's not what they did. And that you just need to stop talking about it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I asked that question because you're right. That term gets thrown around a lot unnecessarily. And if that's the case, I mean, everybody is in this.
Everybody's a narcissist. Yeah. Exactly.
So, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you feel like people need to know before we close out?
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone how important self-care is. It's important for our mental health. It's important for our physical health. I already spoke about how mental and physical work together. And I don't think that people realize how stress really impacts the body. So if everyone can take time for themselves, at least once a day, take a walk, listen to music, do something that calms you because it has such a huge impact on your mental health and it's needed.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. So how can listeners support you or get access to your work or contact you if they need your assistance in this process?
You can find me on Instagram at Alana Sharps or on Facebook, Alana Sharps author page, and then also my website, surthrivetribe.com, and that's SURTHRIVE tribe, TRIBE.com.
Great. Wonderful. I'm so glad you took time out to do this podcast with me on Rulz Fitness Diva Talks. Again, my YouTube channel is Rulz Fitness. Make sure you like and subscribe and also share this interview with everyone and make sure you get this book.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great. Wonderful. Bye-bye.
Bye.